Alright, how's everybody doing out there? It is time for another edition of In Between Days, where we discuss everything that happened on the NBC hit soap opera Days of Our Lives. This is our midweek edition. We're going to cover Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in this edition, so we've got a lot to talk about. But first up, I want to address something that I've been seeing in a lot of the Days of Our Lives talk forums, and a common comment, and I'm not going to say that I disagree with this comment, but a common comment that I see is, oh, these storylines are they're getting so ridiculous. Now, I don't disagree that there's a lot of ridiculous stuff happening right now on Days of Our Lives, but can we really say the storylines are ridiculous lately? It's when people tack on that lately that I get a little bit, what? Because if you go back in time, John was actually Roman, Marlena was possessed by the devil, Eugene used to time travel, and of course, most recently, EJ, who was shot and killed and blown up, is back from the dead. So that's all I'm going to leave you with for first thought today. As we get into Monday, Philip brings Chloe breakfast and her medication. Would you trust Philip Kiriakis bringing your medication to you? Especially somebody who mysteriously was able to grow back a leg that was blown off in the war and has something of a sordid past. I don't know if I'd want him bringing me my medication, but that's what happened there. Brady enters the room to talk business with Chloe and asks for a little bit of privacy, but business is not all he wants to talk about with Chloe. Philip offers Chloe a job, though, working with him instead of with Brady, Nicole, and Xander at Basic Black. Meanwhile, at Basic Black's office, Brady walks in on Nicole and Xander talking about their scandalous affair. Kate, meanwhile, continues to take her blindness, take her blindness. Where would she take her blindness? I don't know. To the bedroom, maybe, to manipulate Jake and get revenge. Nice save there. She asks Jake to sleep with her, but he finds excuses out of it because, of course, he wants to be with Gabby. EJ in the Demira foyer overhears Lucas and Sammy, but they pretend that Lucas just wanted to stay in the mansion and live there to be closer to his mother, Kate. EJ offers to help him stay, but Lucas declines. He's going to take that room above the Brady Pub. The Brady Pub, established 1992, ladies and gentlemen. Gabby talks to Chad in the Demira living room. There's a lot of people living in that Demira house these days. She doesn't want Jake around Kate. I'm sure she doesn't. EJ enters the room, and Gabby asks, how is it that EJ is living in her house? Because, of course, as we mentioned last episode, Gabby technically owns the Demira mansion because of the fact that she was married to Stefan Demira, who, of course, was some twin who came out of nowhere, and Gabby married him, and when he passed away, she ended up with the legal possession of the Demira mansion. Anyway, where were we? The legal possession of the Demira mansion, indeed. Okay, Gabby talks to Chad, yes. Oh, nope, we're a little bit past that, alright. That's the first time that ever happened. So, Gabby eventually agrees to let Sammy and EJ stay in the Demira mansion. EJ then privately talks to Chad about overthrowing Jake from power. Sammy tells Lucas she is going to be with EJ, and Lucas fights back, but he then, for now, heads up to see his mother, Kate. Gabby and Sammy, meanwhile, chat on the stairs about their respective situations. Be careful on those stairs, a lot of people have fallen down them. Lucas tells Jake and Kate that EJ and Sammy are moving in, and Jake wonders why and what the heck they want, and he's right to wonder, because obviously EJ is plotting to take over Demira once again. And finally on Monday, Chad tells EJ he needs to talk to Abigail, his wife, before making any final decisions about what he wants to do about helping EJ overtake Demira once again on Tuesday. Gwen calls Snyder to tell him that the pills have been delivered. Jack comes in and assumes that Gwen is all upset about Xander when she gets off the phone. He explains to Gwen more of what Xander has been through in his life, generally and recently with Sarah Horton, and he basically asks Gwen to give Xander a chance. Just give Xander a chance. Tripp, I have no idea why I just tried to sing that, but I'm never going to do it again. Tripp asks Dr. Snyder about missing pills. He's catching on, and he's going through some paperwork. Tripp, that is, pronouns pal. Tripp is going through some paperwork. He sees that there is a indiscrepancy in the pill count, and he asks his superior, Dr. Snyder, about it. Dr. Snyder, in turn, explains it away and says just to leave it with him. Kayla and Steve, meanwhile, are discussing that they think something is up with Dr. Snyder and Gwen. Tripp tells Kayla about the missing drugs, and Kayla says that she'll handle it. Kayla meets with Steve and thinks that Snyder is stealing drugs from the hospital. Brady, who has just overheard Xander and Nicole talk about their affair, enters the room and tells them about Chloe staying with Philip at the Kyriakis mansion. Brady asks Xander to leave after he suggests firing Chloe from Basic Black. Brady asks Nicole if she did in fact sleep with Xander, and she explains everything to Brady. Brady says he's going to help keep her secret, despite the fact that Nicole's husband is Eric, his half-brother. He's going to help Nicole with Xander, and he's going to neutralize Xander, or at least try to help Nicole neutralize Xander in the Horton Town Square. Jack. I almost made a new super couple. Jack and Xander is Jask now. No, let's rewind. Jack asks Xander to give Gwen a chance, and much like in the beginning of the show, he was asking Gwen to give Xander a chance, he's now asking Xander in the Horton Town Square to give Gwen a chance. Dr. Snyder, meanwhile, comes into the Horton house to talk to Gwen. But why does he keep showing up at the Horton house to talk to Gwen when all of this is supposed to be on the down low? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Why would you keep showing up to the Horton Town Square to see one of your patients who obviously is not in any need of special house calls? It's just going to draw attention to the whole situation. And speaking of situations, there's a big one about to come up. Xander finds Gwen and Snyder arguing about things, and he almost kills Snyder by getting a letter opener, a very common thing to do on Days of Our Lives, and putting it to Dr. Snyder's neck. He's about to kill Snyder, but Gwen pleads with him not to, as we saw in that preview video that we talked about in the last episode. So that's now happened on Tuesday, and Xander lets him go, but then Dr. Snyder apparently has a heart attack and dies on the couch. Philip offers Chloe senior vice president of Gabby Cheek instead of working again at Basic Black. Philip's trying to lure Chloe away. Chloe seems to decline and goes to talk to her son Parker, but Philip is not going to give up yet, at least when it comes to Chloe. We're going to get into the whole situation with Dr. Snyder dying on the couch when we get into Wednesday's episode of Days of Our Lives, which is coming up right now. So that starts off with Abe telling Roman about him and Paulina taking things at the next level, and that conversation takes place at the Brady pub. Paulina tells Lonnie at Lonnie's house that she slept with Abe. That's a little bit of an awkward moment, but Lonnie says, "Oh, it's okay, Auntie, that you slept with my dad. I mean, it's Salem after all." She doesn't say the "it's Salem after all" part, but I thought I would throw that in there because it's Salem after all, so her aunt slept with her father. Abe comes in as well. Abe comes over to Lonnie's place, and Paulina's already there. The reason he's come is to tell his daughter, Lonnie, that he slept with her aunt, but they already know because Paulina's already there and they've already talked about it, and everybody's alright with it. Meanwhile, Paulina takes a trip to the Horton Town Square. Everybody gets everywhere so quickly, I don't know how they do it. But Paulina's now in the Horton Town Square feeling guilty about her actual plans for the Horton Town Square. So we'll see how that all pans out. Julie goes to Nicole's house and she tries Allie and Chanel's version of Alice's donuts, and she loves them very much, and I'm becoming more and more uncomfortable with this whole selling Alice's secret recipe donuts, but it is what it is, and it's Alice Caroline Horton's legacy to do with it as she will, I suppose, especially if it has Julie's blessing. Allie and Chanel get cozy after that. They're kind of celebrating the fact that all their baking dreams are going well, and then Trip enters. He comes over and they feed him some donuts and other things and let him try them, and he enjoys all of that. Jack hears Kayla and Steve talking about his long-lost daughter Gwen. Jack defends Gwen to them, but Steve and Kayla are still very ultra suspicious and basically have come to believe that she is quite possibly involved in a drug smuggling ring, which is very close to the truth. They just don't know or realize that she is being coerced into smuggling those drugs. But it will all come out soon enough. Julie, meanwhile, she just ran from Nicole's place talking to Allie and Chanel, and she's now back at the Horton house. She finds Snyder, who is actually dead, but she thinks he's sleeping on the couch, and then she thinks he's just drunk and passed out. And Julie says something to the effect that Horton House is not for waywards, but actually it was. Does nobody remember the Horton Center that was built onto the Horton House that was specifically for waywards and people that needed... It was like a shelter. It was literally a shelter, and Kayla used to work there, and Steve used to come and visit Kayla. Kayla, who is now the super doctor that can perform any surgery in the world. Where did she start out? At the Horton Center. What was the Horton Center for? Wayward people and people who needed medical attention and other such things. It was also sort of a rape crisis center from what I remember. And so the Horton House, I don't know what happened to the Horton Center, if it just vanished into thin air, but the Horton House was very much for waywards. Julie tells them to get their drunk friend the heck out of the house, and she leaves. Jack walks in, and before he can walk in, there's a very funny moment where they throw a towel over the dead Dr. Snyder, and they pretend that they're watching cartoons and make every excuse in the world why Jack cannot join them to watch this cartoon. And once Jack finally leaves, they get to work on getting rid of that body, and I believe it's going to be the body that shows up in the river this summer. I've been thinking about that river, because that river has had a few dead bodies in it, but why do we never hear about the pier anymore? And would it not be easier to just throw the dead bodies off the pier like back in the day? And if there is no pier, see, I don't know what happened to the Horton Town. No, the Horton Town Center is there. I don't know what happened to the Horton Center. I don't know what happened to the Penthouse Grill. And I would really like to know what happened to the pier and the docks, because where is all that clam chowder coming from if there's no access to the pier and the docks? Does anybody remember that the Bradys ran a fish market before it was a pub, and that was very connected to the pier, and the pier is a big part of Salem? Where is the pier? Show me the pier. All I want to see is the pier. Do you hear me? Make that pier appear. And that is your Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday Days of Our Lives. Thank you for listening in to In Between Days. Even though we had a couple of flubs this time, it's all good. I hope you didn't mind. I hope you enjoyed. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if you really want to get the latest the soonest. Hit that notification bell as well, and you will find out everything you need to know every time an episode is uploaded. And I almost forgot to mention, you may have noticed, I am also on the side uploading a weird news podcast. So if you're into strange news, you will also find that on this channel for now. Check it out. See you next time.